Hello, my name is Jason Mann, and you may recognise me from such videos as 2020, a year in review. Well, I have put this off for as long as possible, but I am here to provide what I have been told will be a new annual event, our year in review video. In my normal fashion, of course, I will skip over the fact that it's now March. So, 2021 was not the year we thought it would be at the beginning of the year, and it instead turned out to be more of the same of 2020. But 2021 was also a year of a heap of new innovations and developments from Ticketer, the key ones I'm keen to share with you here. So, without further ado, we will move swiftly on. During 2020, a spotlight was put on the problem of bridge strikes and the impact they cause. So, at Ticketer, we decided to develop a new feature called Road Restriction Alerts. This aimed to give drivers advance warning of any roads with restricted access in the area which could cause an issue for the vehicle they are driving. The main access restriction we were considering here was of course low bridges, but our solution also caters for width restrictions as well. As part of this feature, we extended the model of vehicles to allow the width and importantly the height of each vehicle to be added to the system. This allowed the system to not unnecessarily alert the driver if a single-decker vehicle could comfortably clear the bridge, but would alert if a double-decker on entering said warning zone. That, with a database of all the bridges of the UK, was added to the system. We made it possible then for operators to review and tweak this dataset as necessary and publish this to their ETMs. With the feature enabled, drivers then get a visual and audible alert when they are in the proximity of any potential issues. In addition, these alerts are also recorded in the back office and they can be reviewed at any time. Second big release of the year was hardware related and was our brand new handheld. As well as a much improved battery life over the old model with better performance, weight and size, the new Ticketer handheld added a feature the old version did not support, the ability to use contactless EMV for the payment of tickets. Users and operators will be pleased to hear that the same software is running on this new model, which means that all of the features that you're used to and like, such as driver messaging, vehicle checklists, tracking and many more, are all present on this new model. Similar to the old model, we have in-vehicle mounting options, and for mobile users there is an optional carry case which can be used. Our third spotlight is on a feature that was requested by popular demand, to be able to use QR codes for return tickets. Essentially what operators were telling us is that they wanted the ability to use a QR code for the return journey, as that gave operators additional data on where these returns were being used, but for that QR code to only be allowed to be used once, and thus our single-use QR code feature was born. Essentially, we built upon our QR hotlist capability to automatically hotlist a QR code once it had been used, and so the ticket cannot be used again. By implementing this in this way allows QR codes to be used not just for return tickets but any other uses, for example open tour tickets where a ticket can be used once but any time within a month, or even, say for example, with carnet tickets. The extension of QR codes in the system did not stop there. The most notable extension was the addition of our QR API. Whilst this is not a feature that can be directly used by our operators today, we have developed the option for the QR codes that can be scanned on ETMs to be issued from our back office via an API. We are making this API available to our third-party suppliers, for example app developers, to make the task of generating a valid QR code easier by taking that task away from them and allowing our system to do the heavy lifting. You will hear more about this in 2022 as suppliers and app developers start to make use of this capability. In addition, our ETMs can now scan and validate QR codes generated to the Rail Delivery Group standard. This means that tickets such as PlusPass can now be validated on the ETMs and not just accepted as flash passes. And finally, we added the extension to use contactless EMV to pay for the purchase of any fares associated with a QR code or an ITSO card. Whilst this feature was more in demand for ITSO cards, where there may be a surcharge to pay after scanning a smart card, support for this feature was added for QR codes so that we can retain parity in how all smart media can be used on our ETMs. Moving back to the back office, we revamped how we manage and support traffic light priority schemes with an overhaul of the back office support for this feature. Whilst our ETMs have helped operators support TLP schemes for a few years now, there was no easy way for operators to manage that dataset. Now, with this addition, operators can create, edit, import and visualize the geofences used to support TLP schemes established around the UK, and the more we expect to see as part of the national bus strategy. Using Centreline data on the ETM improves the accuracy of the recorded GPS, as the ETM will use this additional data point to effectively snap the GPS position to the expected route to minimize the effects of GPS drift. Whilst we have supported the use of Centreline data for a while now, there was no visibility of these data points within the portal, meaning, like TLPs, it was difficult to spot and importantly correct incorrect data. Now though, like TLP geofences, operators can create, edit, import, and importantly visualize this dataset to help reduce the number of errors in this dataset itself before this is used on the ETMs. Our vehicle checklist feature also had a lot of activity during 2021. The setup has been separated from the reporting so that operators can provide limited access to the setup and configuration of the checklists, whilst providing wider access to the various defect reports that are available. We added additional supports when ETMs are swapped onto a bus by downloading any outstanding defects to that fresh ETM. And speaking of the reports, these have been extended to include all the repairs carried out in that time period and to include all vehicles checked, not just the ones that had identified defects. We also added the first system check. This is a function that allows drivers to report issues with the ETMs themselves via the use of a dedicated test. The first option added is for the ability for the driver to confirm that the sound is working by the ETM playing an audio file and asking the driver to confirm whether that was audible. System checks are reported to the back office as a normal defect, allowing these to be managed in the same way as any other added check. And we also added lots of minor but still useful user interface improvements, such as new configuration controls and navigational aids, such as jumping to the tracking page with a vehicle reported defect as the context, and many more like that. As you may recall, we ended 2020 with a BODS update, the exporting of fares into NetX, and the BODS updates have been coming thick and fast since. On timetables, several changes were made throughout the year to ensure that they passed the ever-changing BODS validation checks. And on NetX, on the fares side, we saw several changes being made to support the new single and return ticket classes that were introduced as part of the single-use QR code feature mentioned earlier, and adding support for the alighting bus stop to fare stage mapping should this differ from the boarding setup. Rest assured, the BODS developments will never stop, and we're already working on changes to the Siri feeds to meet the latest changes that the BODS team have introduced there, as well as adding support for passenger classes to the fares export. I should have said that more news on that will follow in early 2022, but it was quicker to do the development than to do this video. The final developments of 2021 was our work on extending tap on tap off to work with ITSO cards and QR codes. Unlike contactless ENV, using tap on tap off with ITSO cards or QR codes does not necessarily require a change to how the respective products are managed, but does allow operators to gain a better insight into their passengers' travelling patterns by not just knowing where the passengers are boarding, but also where they are getting off. Both ITSO and QR tap on tap off can only be undertaken from the secondary tap off reader or TOR. In addition, QR codes can only be scanned on the TOR via an additional QR scanning module that can be fitted to any existing TOR deployments. We will be covering this new feature in more detail shortly, so watch this space, as they say. Well, that was a brief highlight of just some of the new features that we developed and released during 2021. Of course, there are a host of other smaller developments that were also released during the year, but if I was to list them all here, it would be 2023 before we knew it. If any of the features I've discussed today were of interest to you, please do not hesitate to contact myself or our friendly support team, who would be more than happy to discuss that feature in more detail. Of course, as you know us by now, our work never stops, and we will be introducing lots more new features, innovations and enhancements during 2022, and I am contractually obliged to tell you that I am looking forward to telling you all about them this time next year, or perhaps a little bit earlier. Hopefully, the events will be back on this year and we will start to see you all in person, and we can't wait to be able to do so. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some whips to crack and some new developments to get out. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.